This is a follow-up video that I did last week about the dark side of fragrance, and this is an uplifting video, I think, to say and kind of build upon that video so it's not just all blah, blah, okay? Find out what the video is. I'm gonna tell you 3 fragrances that I have rediscovered again and started wearing. Coming up next. Welcome back, everybody, to Joel the Nose. And as I said at the outset, this is a video that is going to be a follow-up kind of to the video I did a week ago about the dark side of fragrance collecting. And, I don't have to go through and reiterate or, rehash all that stuff. It was obviously about, sometimes having an addiction to something and basically having way too many fragrances. So one of the things I suggested in that video is something that I've done this past week. I'm going back through my collection and I'm putting on fragrances that used to be some of my absolute favorites, but because new ones come along and I'm always trying new stuff, these just, not because I didn't like them, but they fell out of favor, they fell out of rotation. So what I've been doing now is making a conscious effort, at least 3 days a week, to wear fragrances that I haven't worn sometimes in over a year or maybe months, 6 months. So I'm making a real conscious effort again. And I think this is a good advice for everyone. Go back in your collection, remember those fragrances and pick 2 or 3 out a week, maybe even more if you can do it, 5, whatever, and fall in love with them again. And that's what I've done here. So this is just my little piece of advice. What are 3 fragrances that I'm going to talk about today that I think are just, oh, you know what, let me just twist that a little bit. There, okay. Just making it a little more centered. That's a little OCD of me. First fragrance is from the house of Casa Morati, related, of course, to Xerjoff, and I feel essentially owned by Xerjoff. Oh, and we just got my Garbanzo with the little camera bar, photo bomb. This is Italica. Italica, first of all, one of my favorite bottles in my collection. We've got the tassel, you've got the gold cap, you've got the red kind of almost like matte. It's like a dark red, almost like a blood red bottle with, you got the gold inlay, just a really well-crafted bottle. But what's great about this one, this is one of the first gourmand fragrances that I ever truly started to like. Gourmand fragrances, not my natural favorite category of fragrance, but this one I can say is what opened my nose and opened my brain to become more open-minded about gourmand fragrances. And this is one that makes this one so unique, and maybe that's why it's not your typical gourmand. It's got a milk note, which was really popular a few years ago. It's got green apple, saffron, vanilla, toffee, incense, amber. But when you spray it, it's just got this like, and look at that sprayer. It's like a milky cherry, just edible, almost like a natural fruit, not slushy, but smoothie. I was just yesterday at this amazing fruit stand and farm down in Homestead, Florida, which is like agricultural, one of the big agricultural parts of Florida. They grow everything, tropical plants and fruits and everything. So I was down there, this place called Robert is here, and I had, my daughter and I were there, and we had this wonderful, they make the most natural fruit smoothies of all these tropical rare fruits. And this reminds me of something we had, which was a mix of like jackfruit and tamarind and cherry. And there was also some vanilla in that smoothie, which gave it a little bit of a milkiness. And that's what this reminds me of right here. So this is a fragrance that I've been wearing now this week a number of times. I put it on 3 or 4 times throughout the different days and fallen back in love. All right, let's go to my next fragrance. And that is going to be from Andrea Mack, Ex Entrance. So this fragrance came out, I don't know, maybe, a couple years ago, or a year and a half, 2 years ago. When it first came out, this was heavy in my rotation, along with Craft, which is a beautiful incense cedar fragrance that she makes. It's one of my favorites. But Ex Entrance is just, this is a banger. This is a just a great everyday fragrance for anyone to wear. It's a spicy, woody fragrance. It's got a lot of interesting, notes. It's got, let's see. First of all, I love the geometric shapes of these bottles, but it's got saffron, it's got nutmeg, vetiver, pink pepper, amber, vanilla, patchouli. It also has cedar. Also one of the best sprayers on the market. Look at that. Just look at that. And it's that controlled, slow spray. It's spicy. The pink pepper, the saffron. It's got a little tinge of oomph to it. Again, perfect fragrance to wear every day. Perfect fragrance to wear for any occasion. Perfect unisex fragrance. To go back to Italica, this one probably leans a little bit more feminine because it's a little bit more feminine and gourmand, although I wear it and I love it. This one is definitely a perfect unisex, really good for both men and women. I highly recommend it if you've never tried it. A real crowd pleaser and one I can just wear anywhere. And when it first came out, I wore it all the time. I hadn't worn this one probably in 5 or 6 months. So now back in my rotation, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm wearing more fragrances every day. That's basically, just to give you what I'm doing, is I'm putting a fragrance on in the morning and I'm putting another fragrance on maybe late afternoon to wear for the evening. Sometimes I'll even go one late in the evening if I'm going to be out later. So I may even go 3 fragrances in one day. That's just, what I'm doing to be able to get more use out of my extensive collection. And that leads me to my last fragrance, one I talked about a couple years ago a lot. And that is from Peccato Originale, the Italian niche house, Mastro del Cuore, Master of the Heart. This is really niche fragrance at its best. Check out that juice. I love these bottles. It's just different. Everything about this is very Italian. By the way, interestingly in here, no French perfumes in my list today. 2 Italian and 1 Scandinavian. But this is, again, was one of my favorite fragrances that I really talked about a couple years ago. It is a little bit hard to get their fragrances. I can say this, I got mine at Osme and here in Miami, Osme Perfumery, and they're very artisanal, okay? And they're wonderful people. I communicate with them sometimes over in Italy, but the founder is a pharmacist by trade, so she's an alchemist. She really mixes and matches things, and so everything here is very unique and artisanal. This is a green mate fragrance. So again, take a look at that juice. The juice smells just as it looks. Let me spray it here. Totally different sprayer. That's more of a like a puff, a burst, while the others are a little bit more slow controlled. Just perfect summertime fragrance, perfect. It's just got that green energy, that mate. It picks you up. Mate is a really famous kind of tea-like drink that's really famous in Argentina. And by the way, there's a lot of Argentinians in Miami. And now that Lionel Messi is here, and you're watching this video today, Thursday, tomorrow is his first game, Friday. I may end up going to the game here in South Florida. Messi playing for Inter Miami. I could do a whole nother video on that. I'm so excited. And I can bet you that he drinks a lot of mate and probably would love this fragrance. I got to find a way to get this into his hands. Maybe somebody can introduce me to him and I can really hook him up. So that's it. Again, wore this all the time a couple years ago. And it just sat there on my shelf and for no reason, just for, again, to go back to the original point of the video from last week, I have too many fragrances. So what am I doing now? I'm going back and consciously picking ones that I haven't worn and re-wearing them again and falling in love all over again, as I've done with these three fragrances. I recommend the same to you guys. Try it out and let me know. Let me know some other tips. You guys, the response, by the way, on the video, about the dark side of collecting was amazing. One of the best, I would say, responses I've ever gotten on my over 1,000 videos that I've done now. Done over 1,000. And that was one of the, by far, the best responses. You guys were amazing. You guys came up with great advice, your own stories. Man, I read through all of them. And it was just, thank you guys. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the interaction. And I hope you like this video. I'll be back soon with another one. Peace, love, and perfume.